NEC Table 515.3 provides specific guidelines for the placement of overpressure relief valves associated with propane tanks, particularly in relation to buildings. The primary objective of these regulations is to ensure safety by preventing propane gas from entering a building in the event of a leak or a rupture in a tank or its associated equipment. The table mandates that overpressure relief valves for propane tanks must be located outside of the building. This requirement is not merely a suggestion, but a strict code adherence point. Secondly, the location of these valves must be a minimum of 3 feet away from any building opening. A building opening encompasses a wide array of potential entry points into the structure, including but not limited to windows, doors, ventilation intakes, and any other aperture that could allow gas to migrate inside. The rationale behind this 3-foot clearance is to create a buffer zone where propane gas, if released, has the opportunity to dissipate into the atmosphere rather than being drawn into the building through an opening. The NEC considers the overpressure relief valve as a vent. This classification is important because it triggers specific code requirements related to ventilation and the safe dispersal of gases. The definition of a vent in the NEC is broad enough to encompass any opening or device intended to allow the escape of gases, fumes, or vapors. Therefore, the overpressure relief valve, which is designed to release propane gas in emergency situations, falls under this definition. When installing propane tanks and associated equipment, it is vital to consult the most recent edition of the NEC and any applicable local codes. Local codes may have additional requirements or more stringent standards than the NEC. It is the responsibility of the installer and the homeowner to ensure compliance with all applicable regulations. To ensure compliance with NEC Table 515.3 and related safety standards, consider the following points. Firstly, the selection of an appropriate location for the propane tank is paramount. Conduct a thorough site assessment to identify potential hazards and to ensure that the tank can be placed in a location that meets all code requirements. Secondly, ensure the overpressure relief valve is correctly oriented. The valve should be positioned to direct the gas away from the building and any potential ignition sources. Thirdly, perform regular inspections of the propane tank and associated equipment. Check for signs of corrosion, leaks, or damage. Address any issues promptly to prevent potential safety hazards. Fourthly, maintain clear and accessible pathways around the propane tank. This will allow for easy access for inspections, maintenance, and emergency response. Fifthly, educate occupants on propane safety. Inform them about the location of the propane tank, the smell of propane gas, and the appropriate steps to take in the event of a leak. Sixthly, install propane detectors inside the building. These detectors can provide an early warning of a gas leak and allow for prompt evacuation. Seventhly, use qualified professionals for installation and maintenance. Ensure that all work is performed by licensed and experienced technicians who are familiar with propane safety standards and code requirements. The NEC, or National Electrical Code, serves as the benchmark for safe electrical design, installation, and inspection to protect people and property from electrical hazards. The code, which is updated every 3 years, is not federal law, but it is widely adopted by states and municipalities in the United States for the purpose of standardizing safe electrical practices. The NEC contains provisions for virtually all aspects of electrical installations, from wiring methods and overcurrent protection to grounding and equipment installation. NEC Table 515.3 specifically addresses the requirements for the installation of electrical equipment in hazardous locations. These locations are classified based on the type of hazardous material present, such as flammable gases, vapors, or dusts, and the likelihood of these materials being present in ignitable concentrations. Propane, being a flammable gas, falls under the purview of this table when electrical equipment is installed in proximity to propane storage tanks or dispensing equipment. The table outlines specific requirements for the type of electrical equipment permitted in different zones around the propane storage or dispensing area, as well as the required distances from potential sources of ignition. The zones are typically categorized based on the frequency and duration of the presence of the hazardous material. Zone 0 is an area where the hazardous material is present continuously or for long periods. Zone 1 is an area where the hazardous material is likely to be present under normal operating conditions. Zone 2 is an area where the hazardous material is likely to be present only under abnormal conditions or for short periods. NEC Table 515.3 specifies the types of electrical equipment that are permitted in each zone. Equipment must be designed and tested for use in hazardous locations and must be marked accordingly. The markings indicate the class, division, and group of hazardous materials for which the equipment is approved. The class refers to the general nature of the hazardous material, such as flammable gases or combustible dusts. The division refers to the likelihood of the hazardous material being present in ignitable concentrations. The group refers to the specific hazardous material or group of materials for which the equipment is approved. In addition to the type of electrical equipment, NEC Table 515.3 also specifies the required distances from potential sources of ignition. These distances are intended to prevent the ignition of flammable materials by electrical sparks or hot surfaces. The distances vary depending on the zone and the type of equipment. The overpressure relief valve on a propane tank is a critical safety device that is designed to automatically release propane gas if the pressure inside the tank exceeds a safe level. This can occur due to overfilling, excessive heat, or other factors. The relief valve is typically located on the top of the tank and is designed to vent the gas away from the tank and any potential ignition sources. It is essential to ensure that the relief valve is properly installed and maintained to ensure that it functions correctly in the event of an overpressure situation. The NEC does not specifically define the term vent in relation to propane tanks, but the term is generally understood to refer to any opening or device that is designed to allow the escape of gases or vapors. In the context of NEC Table 515.3, the overpressure relief valve on a propane tank would be considered a vent because it is designed to release propane gas in the event of an overpressure situation. Therefore, the requirements of NEC Table 515.3 for vents would apply to the overpressure relief valve. Firstly, the overpressure relief valve must be located outside of the building. This is to prevent propane gas from entering the building in the event of a release. Secondly, the overpressure relief valve must be located not less than 3 feet from any building opening. This is to provide a safe distance between the valve and any potential ignition sources. Thirdly, the overpressure relief valve must be located in a well-ventilated area. This is to allow the propane gas to dissipate quickly and prevent it from accumulating in a confined space. Fourthly, the overpressure relief valve must be protected from physical damage. This is to ensure that the valve functions correctly in the event of an overpressure situation. In addition to the requirements of NEC Table 515.3, there may be other applicable codes and standards that apply to the installation of propane tanks and associated equipment. For example, the National Fire Protection Association, or NFPA, publishes standards for the storage and handling of propane gas, including NFPA 58 Liquefied Petroleum Gas Code. It is essential to consult with local authorities and qualified professionals to ensure that all applicable codes and standards are followed. Failure to comply with these codes and standards can result in serious safety hazards, including fires, explosions, and injuries. The NEC provides minimum safety requirements for electrical installations. Local jurisdictions may adopt more stringent requirements based on their specific needs and circumstances. Homeowners should check with their local building department or electrical inspector to determine the specific requirements for their area. Ignoring or neglecting safety regulations can have severe consequences, including fires, explosions, and electrocution. It is always best to err on the side of caution and ensure that all electrical work is performed by qualified professionals who are familiar with the NEC and local codes. In addition to the code requirements, there are several best practices that can enhance the safety of propane tank installations. Firstly, install a remote shutoff valve. A remote shutoff valve allows you to quickly and easily shut off the propane supply in the event of an emergency. Secondly, use a leak detection system. A leak detection system can provide an early warning of a propane leak and allow you to take corrective action before a dangerous situation develops. Thirdly, maintain proper ventilation. Proper ventilation is essential to prevent the accumulation of propane gas in confined spaces. Fourthly, provide adequate lighting. Adequate lighting can help prevent accidents and injuries when working around propane tanks. Fifthly, post warning signs. Warning signs can alert people to the presence of propane tanks and the potential hazards associated with them. Sixthly, develop an emergency response plan. An emergency response plan can help you to quickly and effectively respond to a propane leak or other emergency situation. When selecting a propane tank, it is essential to choose a tank that is properly sized for the application. An undersized tank may not be able to provide enough propane to meet the demand, while an oversized tank may be unnecessarily expensive. Consult with a qualified propane professional to determine the appropriate size tank for your needs. It is also important to select a tank that is made of high-quality materials and is designed to withstand the pressures and environmental conditions to which it will be exposed. Ensure that the tank is properly labeled and marked with all required information such as the manufacturer's name, the tank's capacity, and the maximum allowable working pressure. The installation of a propane tank should be performed by a qualified professional who is familiar with the NEC and FBA standards and local codes. The installer should carefully inspect the site to ensure that it is suitable for the installation and that all required clearances are met. The installer should also ensure that the tank is properly grounded and bonded to prevent static electricity buildup. After the tank is installed, the installer should perform a leak test to ensure that there are no leaks in the system. The leak test should be performed using a non-corrosive leak detection solution. The installer should also provide the homeowner with instructions on how to safely operate and maintain the propane system. Propane tanks should be inspected regularly to ensure that they are in good condition and are operating safely. The frequency of inspections will depend on the size of the tank and the application. Small tanks that are used for residential heating may only need to be inspected annually, while large tanks that are used for commercial or industrial applications may need to be inspected more frequently. The inspection should be performed by a qualified professional who is familiar with propane safety standards. The inspector should check for signs of corrosion, leaks, damage, and any other conditions that could pose a safety hazard. The inspector should also check the operation of the overpressure relief valve to ensure that it is functioning properly. If any problems are found during the inspection, they should be corrected promptly to prevent potential safety hazards. Homeowners should also be aware of the signs of a propane leak. Propane gas is naturally odorless, so manufacturers add an odorant to make it detectable. The odorant smells like rotten eggs or skunk. If you smell propane gas, take the following steps. Firstly, extinguish all open flames and ignition sources. Secondly, evacuate the building immediately. Thirdly, call the fire department or propane supplier from a safe location. Fourthly, do not re-enter the building until it has been declared safe by emergency personnel. Propane is a safe and reliable fuel when handled properly. By following the NEC and FBA standards and local codes, and by implementing best practices, you can ensure the safety of your propane tank installation. It is always best to consult with qualified professionals to ensure that all work is performed correctly and safely. Propane is a versatile fuel that can be used for a variety of applications, including heating, cooking, water heating, and powering generators. It is a clean-burning fuel that produces fewer emissions than other fossil fuels. Propane is also a readily available fuel that can be stored in tanks on your property, making it a convenient option for areas where natural gas is not available. Propane tanks are available in a variety of sizes, ranging from small portable tanks to large stationary tanks. The size of the tank will depend on the application and the amount of propane that is needed. Propane tanks can be installed above ground or underground. Above-ground tanks are easier to install and maintain, while underground tanks are less visible and can be aesthetically more pleasing. The choice of tank location will depend on the homeowner's preferences and the site conditions. When selecting a propane tank, it is important to consider the following factors. Firstly, the size of the tank. Secondly, the location of the tank. Thirdly, the type of tank, above ground or underground. Fourthly, the material of the tank, steel or composite. Fifthly, the warranty of the tank. In addition to propane tanks, there are a variety of other propane-powered appliances and equipment available, including furnaces, water heaters, stoves, dryers, generators, and grills. These appliances and equipment are designed to operate safely and efficiently on propane gas. When using propane-powered appliances and equipment, it is important to follow the manufacturer's instructions and to have the equipment serviced regularly by a qualified technician. Propane is a safe and reliable fuel when handled properly. By following the NEC, NFPA standards, and local codes, and by implementing best practices, you can ensure the safety of your propane system. It is always best to consult with qualified professionals to ensure that all work is performed correctly and safely.